This is the third Monday of the month. This is the Shadow's Maw, and I am Marcus Shadow. And that can only mean one thing. That's right, we're back for the year of Trek. Tonight, we're going to take a look at Star Trek Nemesis.
Woo.
Joining me, of course, James Phoenix.
Yellow.
And Chriz the Mole.
To boldly rant where no one's ranted before. Thank you.
Maybe.
Oh, come on, it's Nemesis. No one's ever taken a shot at Nemesis before. This is a brand new hidden gem.
Yeah. And actually, surprisingly, folks, for all you listening out there, it's unanimous across the X-Pound, at least across the three of us. Not as bad as we remembered it being.
Ah, cool, so we're done. Okay, I'll be taking off.
Good night. No. But no, yeah, I think it's, like I said, unanimous across the three of us, so, it's still a bad movie, don't get me wrong. It's not a good movie, but it's not terrible. They do some things right, and the acting is okay. It's not bad. I love the Scimitar. It's such a cool ship. I really disliked the opening to the movie. Well, not the opening, but near the beginning of the movie. The whole Mad Max thing. I did not like that. That felt so out of place to me. I don't know if either of you felt that way.
No, like I said at the time, it felt Star Trek-y to me because they always do various different stuff, and depending on episodes, if it's meant to be a special thing or if it's a special thing in the film, they do start off with stuff like that. So it was like, cool, it's the Warthog from Halo across the thing, makes it seem very modern, makes it seem very different, so instantly it's got your attention than just another opening shot of the ship.
Fair enough. Jim, what's your opinion on that?
Like I said, basically, I agree. I mean, pretty much, No, just like that. This is really the first time that I recall having actually sat down and watched the entire movie.
No, he's not about the opening scene that you didn't acknowledge his question.
Oh, no, sorry. I thought we were starting with an overall opinion.
Well, wake up.
Sorry, it's late. I worked all day. Cut me some slack. So let's see. The opening scene.
His question was, did the opening Mad Max scene, as he called it, did that seem out of place for you? He argues yes. I argued no.
You mean them driving around the Doom Buggy in the desert?
Yeah.
That wasn't the opening scene.
Yeah, but it's like the first scene. Or it was pretty quick.
It was the first
opening.
action scene, but yeah.
The first action. This is the first. I'm pretty sure the first.
Either way, did it seem out of place to you?
First scene's a wedding, but anyway, it was different. It was unique. Yeah, it was a little out of the blue, a little out of left field. I would say definitely different than Star Trek, not something we're used to. I don't know if I'd call it bad necessarily. It was a fun little action sequence, something Star Trek doesn't get to do very often, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
I didn't say it was bad. I just said I didn't particularly care for it just because I was like, Star Trek, and then Mad Max. It's like, wait, what?
To be fair, like I said, they've done that shit before. Like, how many stuff of, like, I don't know, Next Gen during the TV show was it opening credits, pirate ship, because holodeck. Any chance they've got to just catch your attention after the thing, they do it. And it seemed like one of those eye-catching moments. Oh, cool, this is a little different. This is a different look at another aspect of Star Trek. But because we keep seeing different aspects, it feels the same, if that makes sense. In a good way.
Fair
Why?
enough. Fair enough. But, I like that they progressed Riker. Riker is my favorite character of all Star Treks. So I like that they finally got him married, and they finally promoted him to captain and gave him a new ship, which he went off to after.
That way that we never get to see.
Right. Well, unless you look at the covers of the books.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's cool, and everyone actually gets character progression. Well, not everyone, but a lot of people get character progression with this one. Geordi, not so much. He's just kind of there, but.
Or character degression.
Yeah, that too. That goes into the bad of this movie. The villain Shinzon, not as terrible as I remember him being.
I didn't like him.
Yeah.
Oh, I never said I liked him, but
No. I was giggling because, like I said, yeah, the film's not as bad as I remember, but like I said to you from the get-go, it's like going to reveal his lie, and it basically looks like Simon and Richter are fused together. I'm like, what? No, you look scarier when you were Bane. You don't look intimidating. You basically look like a model that someone's shaved bald. And I'm like, no, you look out of place.
Yeah, he does a little bit.
And the fun fact, the villain of this movie, something else that was retroactively ripped off from Mad Max.
Oh.
He played Max in Fury Road.
Ah. I didn't know that. I haven't seen Fury Road.
I haven't either, but I know that.
Fair enough.
We here at the X-Pan do not condone any Mad Maxes without Mel Gibson. Thank you. No, I'm kidding. It could be good.
No, we at the X-Pan do not condone Mel Gibson being a racist prick, so either way.
Yep. I also heard the newest one was actually really good. But anyway,
yeah, to be fair, if we weren't doing anything to do with racist pricks, we'd never get around to reviewing Power Rangers.
Oh. But yeah, when we were watching the movie, Mole made the point of, with the whole light reveal, that he's in the dark, and then face reveal. There was like no point to it because he doesn't look like Picard, which I agree with.
Yes. Increase illumination by 30%.
Yeah, but then I countered with, well, what if their intent was the reverse? What if their intent wasn't for a dramatic reveal? They just did it because why not? What if their intent was they darken the face so that if you look at him with the shadow over the face, with the structure, he does kind of look like Picard. At least to me, he did. When he had the darkness over the face.
Only because he was bald.
Well, I thought the facial structure, and like the ears and stuff, just how it was illuminated and silhouetted, I thought he looked like Picard.
He has, even when it was darker, you could tell he had bigger lips and a bigger nose than Picard.
I thought the silhouette was to intend him to kind of hide the fact it made him kind of look like a Reman temporarily.
That too. I will say I don't like the fact that this just made me go almost groan, basically, of when Picard's in his ready room and he pulls out his little scrapbook thing and it's got a photo of young Picard. It's Tom Hardy, and I'm like, but you did that just so you could say, yeah, see, it's young Picard. Well, it's like, no, it's not.
Yeah, because that's who he was supposed to be. Just the one of us and all that crap. It makes sense. I mean, if you're gonna do something like that, it would make sense.
Yeah.
I just thought he didn't. I just thought he looked like ass. I didn't like his portrayal.
I can kind of agree with that. The portrayal of the villain, yeah, but the villain itself, like the concept of the villain and stuff, I was like, okay, I actually kind of buy the villain. Because I will say the concept for this movie was actually a really interesting concept. It was kind of a unique concept of, evil clone who's, well, not evil clone, but clone whose DNA is now degrading, and the only way he could survive is to get a hold of the genuine article to get his DNA to stabilize himself. And then as he's degrading into the point of he knows he's going to die, he just gets more and more insane and desperate and stuff. And it's like, okay, that kind of works. Execution, yeah. Yeah. But the biggest problem I had with this movie was Data. Oh my god. Just Spiner, no, Spiner, no. You should never write Star Trek, no.
See, I didn't even like the concept of the enemy either. Like, the whole evil clone thing would have been great if it'd been fucking Patrick Stewart playing him. Doing someone that doesn't look anything like him playing it ruins the concept. And even doing the younger version, it's like, no one cares, because as the series of Star Trek Next Generation kept telling us, he gets better with age, so you're instantly inferior.
Yeah. Yeah, it's too bad this movie didn't come out a few years later, because they could have gotten what's his face from X-Men, who's supposed to be a young Patrick Stewart anyway, and I think looks more like him than Tom Hardy.
James McAvoy.
Yeah, James McAvoy. But
Yeah, it still wouldn't have worked though, because it's like the way they've done it, and like I said, just that basic concept
yeah.
of they keep telling us in Star Trek, but with his experiences, by the end of Star Trek Next Generation, he's much better than he was at the beginning. So to do him really young as the villain, it's like, well, there's no fucking threat there.
That's true too. That's why I said like the concept of having clone of Picard needs Picard to to stabilize his DNA. That worked, but the execution of the concept was shit.
Yeah, but I mean,
It's exactly what you're saying. Is the execution was fucking terrible,
no,
making
I
him
was
young,
saying
making him that actor, that stuff like that.
no, that's not exactly what I was saying. I was saying the concept, because the concept of this was old Picard on his last mission against young Picard. That was what they wanted for the concept. Not that good.
Fair enough.
So I'm saying the concept was flawed to begin with.
Yeah, but if they remove the young aspect and just go with base concept of clone tries to find the original, I think that concept would work. But like I said, because they executed it poorly, because they say, well, we're going to make it a young clone. It's like, no, that doesn't work.
That to me would be like, eh. If we're going to do if we're going to do a clone, like I said, with a clone of Picard, it should have been Patrick Stewart as the role. But because of all the people that Star Trek is, with all of his crew, they should have just fucking gone mirror universe and forgot the whole shitty clone concept.
That would have been awesome. If Nemesis had been a mirror universe with mirror Picard, that would have been amazing.
With his crew.
Yeah, that would have been awesome.
I don't know if Jim agrees or is still here.
I can agree with that. I think that he didn't really look enough like Patrick Stewart, and it didn't really feel like the threat that it was meant to be.
Yes.
Based on what they did, I do agree the mirror universe would have been a better route to go. Would have been interesting. I can't remember if they've talked about what mirror universe Picard has done. Can't remember if he's appeared, but it would have been interesting.
Yes, in the books.
Fair enough. Would have been interesting to go that route. See where that goes. And just kind of see how that would have panned out. And also, that would have been having to be Patrick Stewart would have been interesting because then, because it is effectively Picard, the crew might have been hesitant to, take action against it. Whereas in this version, the crew was more than happy to take action against Shinzon. And I feel like that would have had more of an emotional impact on the crew as a whole, as opposed to in this case, it was mostly just an impact on Picard.
Yeah.
I also don't like the fact that he didn't take the name of Picard, even though he knew he was Picard's clone. It's like, well, call yourself Picard then. That's who you are.
I believe his point was that I am you, Jean-Luc, but I am superior to you because I have gone through all this struggle and this strife, and I have overcome, and I have become the leader of a people by force. I am a leader of. I am this, this big important guy. I am you, Jean-Luc, but I have become better than what you've become, despite not having what you had. You had the better life. I got the better outcome.
Mm-hmm.
And how'd that work out for him?
It didn't. I'm just saying that was his perspective.
Oh, I know that was his trail of thought. Yeah, he's superior. He's going to name himself something else, but it's like,
Yeah, I also didn't like Viceroy Hellboy.
Oh yeah, that's Perlman, isn't it? I forgot about that.
Yeah, that was Ron Perlman. I fucking hate the character.
I will say, like I mentioned in the last thing we did of Star Trek, liked the uniforms.
Uniforms are awesome.
Uniforms are good, yeah.
And as I mentioned to Marcus in this, which I noticed more, because I think I watched an episode of Next Gen the other week or so, but I don't like Troy.
Nobody likes Troy. Nobody likes Troy except as eye candy.
Yeah, she's like, basically, like all her powers just seem really fucking contrived and plot convenience whenever they decide to go into that well.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say, at least for the movie, she's actually using her proper accent instead of that shit from the series.
What are you talking about? It's a Betazoid accent. That's what she has.
Yeah. But I mean, it sounds more better, so therefore her acting seems better. So I'm giving her props for acting better just her character's still shit.
Oh, indeed. Now, and remind me correctly, but I believe, counting series and films, this is the fourth time she's been mind raped.
Yeah, I didn't like the mind rape. I'm like, really, Spiner, you had to go there.
What? She was mad? No, they wouldn't reuse storylines for her. She's more in plot convenience. She's more in damsel in distress.
Also, as Mole and I were talking during the movie, did she ever mention that it was Hellboy that raped her?
She mentioned him by character name. She said, Viceroy so and so has the ability to get into my mind. She said,
Okay, so she did mention.
She knew it was that character causing it. She could sense via the mind link that it was him doing it and not Shinzon himself. She knew that.
Well, she knew that. I was wondering if she actually ever said it out loud, because I was like watching that fight with Riker, and I'm like, wait, does Riker know that it was him?
Oh yeah, because Riker had heard because she said that when they cut to sickbay and Crusher was scanning her, and she said, "Oh, Picard's like, Deanna, what can you tell me?" And she says, "Viceroy so and so has mind projection abilities, can get into my head." That was like the first thing she said. And Riker was standing right there.
Fair enough. Yeah, I didn't quite hear what she said because I was talking to Mole at the time. That's fair enough.
No.
I did not like that fight. I thought that I liked the idea of the fight because it's like, okay, yeah, Riker gets to be kind of a badass and gets to have one-on-one fight, and 2, he gets to fight for his woman. I'm like, that's kind of awesome. But the fight was shit. It's like, literally, Riker did almost nothing. It was the ship getting shot the fuck up and rocked around that did most of the damage to the Viceroy. And that's also what killed the Viceroy. And I'm like, no, Riker needs to fucking kill him. Come on.
To be fair, he can only fight for his woman so many times before he gets bored of it.
Yeah, but this is the first time he's fighting for his woman as his wife, because they just got married.
Yeah, that doesn't dramatically change it because they signed a bit of paper. It's still the exact same concept rehashed.
Still, I think it should have gone better. I think Riker deserved to actually get the killing blow. Instead of, oh no, gravity's got you. Oh. Yeah, that was dumb. I'm like, no, the fight should have been better. But I hate what they did with Data in this.
It's also probably because Riker was out of shape during this one.
Maybe, yeah.
Because, like I made the comment to you, he didn't look like Riker. He looked like George Lucas.
You did say that, yes.
Yeah, he looked like a young George Lucas. I don't know if Jim would agree with that, but that's kind of what I got with how much weight he'd gained.
Jim?
Huh?
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Why are you not paying attention?
I'm paying attention. I was just bringing up the thing about the movie to see if Spiner was the only writer. He was not. That's all I wanted to know.
There's 3 writers. Yes, and
you're
doing that, you Jim, the thing, because Mole was trying to ask you something about what he was talking about. You completely Jimmed us.
All right, I was looking for information to benefit the review. I apologize. Continue.
And in doing so, you ruined the review.
But no, shit, I don't even remember what what Mole was asking. What we were talking about.
All I did was I mentioned the comment of because of how much weight stuff Riker had, he now looked like a young George Lucas. At least to me, he looked like a young George Lucas, and then we had the whole gymming thing to look stuff up again.
Yeah, he looked a little bit like George Lucas. I haven't seen George Lucas young. I generally have that one picture of, that iconic, image of George Lucas in my head as he looks, with his red plaid shirt and his jeans and everything. But yeah, he kind of looked like that a little bit. Yeah, Jonathan Frakes did put on a little bit of weight, but it's to be expected that, not only the actor, but also the character getting a little bit older. He's evolving into captain. His appearance is going to change a little bit. Not going to be on away missions as much. It makes sense that he'd be a little, he'd be, had that distinguished air of age about him a little bit.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Picard gets buffer and buffer every year.
Yes, but but you see, that was actually explained.
Oh.
Because they had a conversation earlier where they were talking about they were going to go to the nude wedding, and Riker's hanging on the bridge, and Picard's like, "I'm going to the gym."
Yep. Yeah, it makes sense. No one was saying it didn't. He just didn't look like Riker as a result.
True. I still think they could have pulled it off. I still think they could have done something a lot better than what they did.
I thought it looked more like he looked more like Riker than he did in the last movie where he shaved his beard off midway through.
Yeah, that was a little weird.
Yeah, I still like beardless Riker too.
No, beardless Riker's fine. Just beardless Riker at that age looks weird.
Yeah, kind of.
I think because you're used to the beard more.
Probably because the beard looks better on him at this age and with this build.
Yeah, that's probably about right.
Oh, it's what I said of just people got used to it. Because it's always that joke in
Or
Star
that,
Trek,
yeah.
ha ha ha, grow the beard. Therefore, his beard has become so held up by little nerdy fanboys that if he shaves it off, people are just going to say, "Oh no," and use any excuse to justify the fact he just shaved. Because a beard looks the same on someone regardless of their build. Like his beard in this one in Nemesis still looked the same. It still pretty much looked the same beard as the one he had in the series.
Oh yeah, it does. I didn't say it didn't. I was just saying I think the beard looks better on him at this age than if he shaved than without the beard. I think because of his current build and his age, him shaving it off just looked weird because it didn't look quite right. Whereas with the beard on, he still looked like Riker. Whereas if you look at him as young Riker when he's like skinnier and his face isn't as fat and stuff, with the beard off, he still looks like Riker. But at this age, with his build, he doesn't look like Riker with the beard off because his structure, his physical structure is different.
Yeah, I was just making the case of a beard doesn't change that, which means, logically speaking, if he had the beard on and his physical structure had changed as dramatically as you say, he wouldn't look like Riker. He was still a similar enough shape and you'd seen it evolve, so it's like, okay, that's cool. And when he had it off, he still looked like Riker more than he did in this one, where he looked like he had the proper weight to him. So it looked like he gained more weight between Nemesis and this one than he has in between the other films.
Fair enough. I mean, that's also a possibility. I mean, it was like a year or two between the movies, so yeah, that's a possibility. But yeah, and we get to Data, as I've been trying to get to. Just why? Just why? I mean, okay, you're trying to recreate the whole Wrath of Khan thing, which is overrated anyway. And it's like, okay, you want to kill off Data? Fair enough. I'm fine with you killing off Data, but the way they did it in this movie, just fucking terrible.
We'll make the case. I think Wrath of Khan, after watching it and going back and doing all these, Wrath of Khan may actually be one of the best Star Trek films.
Oh, it is. It's really good. But
I mean, yeah. It's either that one or it's one of the other ones from the original series.
Mm-hmm. I'm not saying Wrath of Khan is bad. I'm just saying I think it's overrated because a lot of people say it's the best Star Trek movie of all time. I'm like, no, it's not. It's good, but it's not that good.
Yeah, but when you point it up against movies like this...
Good point.
That is true.
But most of the Star Trek movies look good put up against a movie like this.
Most movies in general look good put up against a movie like this.
True. But just before, why? Just no. And doing the Android equivalent to remember, I'm like, come on.
Yeah, it's basically to reset Data so they could relearn stuff, because effectively at this point in time his character can go nowhere.
Right, or maybe they wanted to, they could use it to kind of reboot the character so that Spiner wouldn't have to play him, which is fine. But it's like...
Except the new body he was in was played by Spiner!
Yeah, I know, they kind of had to do that. But the thing, and this is going to sound kind of ironic, but the thing that pissed me off the most with what they did with Data, aside from the fact that I just don't like B4 at all, I think he's fucking terrible and a waste of space.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be kind of ironic considering
You're
what I've...
against differently able people. Fuck you.
Whatever. But I think it's going to be a lot ironic considering what I said during Insurrection. I don't like that they make Picard fucking useless. Like, literally, they build it all up to Picard has to go face his evil clone by himself. You know, it's going to be Picard v. Picard. Cool, fair enough. You know, he's even like, I have to do this alone. Data, take the bridge, and leaves. And then he goes over there. The instant he kills Shinzon, he becomes fucking useless. He stands there with his mouth agape like, I can't do anything. I've lost all my Picardness. Data has to come in like a badass hero, fucking slap the badge on Picard and then turn around and be like, and do that little smug thing and then shoot the core of the scimitar. And even when Picard gets beamed back to the bridge of the Enterprise, he still stands there with a dumb look on his face like, durr. And it's like, really? At the climax of the movie, you turn Picard into a useless piece of crap? Are you serious?
I can attempt to justify this. Here we go. The fact is, number one, Picard just saw what was effectively himself murdered in front of him. If you just saw you murdered in front of you, that would probably shock you for a while, too. And then he got back to the bridge, and oh yeah, by the way, one of your best friends and most loyal officers just got killed for you. Yeah, that's going to result in you not knowing what the fuck to do.
Doubt it. Not, at least not for Picard.
Picard is human like everybody else. That shit happens. Picard, reacts to that sort of thing, especially now that Picard has, after the evolution of the films, Picard's become a little more in touch with his emotionality after the whole, I found out, I found out that my brother and my nephew died in a fire, and I had to come to terms with that, and I had to come to terms with the fact that I was basically soul raped by the Borg. He's kind of gone through that whole dealing with emotions thing, and so, he's at the point where the emotions are going to well out of him more easily. And that was just kind of a moment of just utter shock. That's all it was. Not because they wanted that dramatic moment where Deanna and Jordy were like, oh my god, and then they turned around like, oh my god, Captain, you're alive.
Well, that's perfectly fine. I just don't like what they did with Picard himself. Like, the beaming him back or whatever, fair enough. To have Data have his moment, fair enough. I just don't like that it just seemed like they made Picard completely useless. I'm like, no. Like literally, he just stood there and did fuck all. And I'm like, no, this is Picard. He wouldn't just stand there like a blubbering idiot. Emotions or not, he would not do that.
But that's just it. It wasn't like it was his choice. The fact is, it was the utter shock of the moment just hit him when he just, saw not only himself die in front of him, but himself pull himself further onto death just to get in his face and say a last word, which I'll admit was kind of badass. And then basically die like right against him. I could see that kind of, upsetting Picard just a little bit. I could see that being a thing where, yeah, he might not know what to say at that point. And it works perfectly because Data knew that Picard, throughout this whole situation, had been emotionally compromised because of the whole older Picard versus younger Picard situation. And he knew he couldn't let the captain sacrifice himself for this, even though that was what Picard intended to do. Because at that point, Picard knew. Well, the other reason is Picard had kind of resigned himself as he was kind of introspecting. He said, "Okay, Shinzon is dead against me. That Thaler moment is going to go off in about 10 seconds. I'm laying here with my dead self against me.
And the prom's tomorrow.
And basically, I'm about to die, so I'm going to introspect because fuck it, I'm going to die in about 6 seconds." And then Data walks in and is like, and just beams him out. And then after that, when Picard got beamed back to the bridge, it was the shock of, wait, Data, what have you done? And then boom, Data's dead. And the shock of that is what initially kept him silent on the bridge. Kind of how that went down.
Yep. But you could go with the other idea of what was said in the film early on, which would be a really shitty excuse.
What says that?
When the clone showed up, he says the sentence to him, "Because I feel what you feel, don't I, Picard? I feel exactly what you're feeling." Which means they must have been linked. Which means, effectively speaking, he just felt himself die. Or that was just a really fucking horrible line of I know exactly what you're feeling. No, you don't fucking know exactly what he's feeling. Your younger self hasn't just come back. That's a pompous twat.
Yeah.
True.
And pretty much. And yeah, I think it's more a matter of, it's because they respected of, Shinzon went to this length. He did all this to the point of killing myself and probably killing my crew in the next 6 seconds. And this is me. I effectively did this or would have done this if I had his life. This was me. I could see that kind of being a shock to the system at that point. Especially when you realize you and everybody you care about are going to die in about 6 seconds and you're introspecting on that. I can see that resulting in Picard kind of being emotionally overloaded and just not able to say anything, which is probably part of the reason why Data went over there, because Data probably knew something like that would happen with Shinzon because of the emotional, because of it being another Picard. That's why Data, as Picard's most loyal officer, knew he had to go over there and he couldn't allow Picard to sacrifice himself for the crew because the crew needed Picard. As Data, even though everybody has constantly and consistently told him otherwise, I don't think that Data has ever relented from the point he made all those years ago. Sir, I am expendable. You are not. And whether anybody else believed it never changed the fact that Data himself always believed that to be true because of his mechanical nature.
Which is fine, and if that's what they were going for, fair enough. I still think they did it wrong. I mean, I don't like how it played out because
which
it
is
made
fair enough. You don't have to like it.
useless.
I'm just saying I think that's what they were going for. That's making it good. Just what they were going for.
I get the feeling, first of all, that I'm pretty sure Spiner probably wrote the ending of the movie because he probably is the one that wrote in the whole death of Data thing, and it just felt to me like they wanted Data to have the badass hero moment right before he died, and it felt like they sacrificed Picard for it. And I'm like, I don't like that. The fact that you just basically buried Picard just to give yourself a badass moment. I'm like, no, that just didn't feel...
Yeah, but to be fair, when you realise that your whole team could have just been killed and stuff like that due to you, the only way you can recover is to punch a woman to death. Ask Jim.
I don't know what you're talking about. But, yeah, we have to realize the fact of the matter is, yeah, they did the Picard. Remember, Picard got badass moments in the last 3 movies.
But I'm not asking for Picard to have a badass moment. I'm just saying it felt wrong for Data to have the badass moment and for Picard to literally do fuck all. And it's like, because literally Data turns around, he gets this smug look on his face, like, yeah, I'm better than Picard, and then shoots the thing.
I don't think it's that. I think it's not a smug look of I'm better than Picard. It's a look of, don't worry, Captain, I've got you. That look of, don't worry, Captain, I'm loyal to God. I'm always here for you. You don't have to do this sort of thing alone. You're gonna be okay.
It's more not the look he gave to Picard. It's when he turns around to fire at the console or whatever, the core. He gets this really smug look on his face, so it's like the badass action moment. And I'm just like, that doesn't work. That just makes him look like a pompous prick.
Yeah,
it just shafted your captain.
Yeah, but it's probably because he gets to shoot something. He finally gets to be a useful member of the team in terms of the action, which Data doesn't always get to do. Plus, he also, being Data, remembers all the stuff he remembers. He probably also remembers downloading his memory. So I'm going to be okay, and I get to be awesome.
Something like that.
It's not anything to do with Picard or anything. And I'd also make the case Picard's not useless. One scene straight after he's the one on his own that stops the main villain pretty much makes Picard awesome. You can't be awesome in every scene.
Yeah. I give Data credit. It was Data's last hurrah, and then let Spiner write it. Give him credit for at least giving it. He gets to have a badass moment for the end. Come on. He beats Picard out. He gets to have the badass smirk. He gets to wait until exactly the count of 1 to fire the phaser into the Thalaron center.
Well, that's fine. I don't think he should have had the smirk. I think it's kind of out of character for Data, even with the emotion chip. I think it would have worked better if he pulls the phaser out, looks down, and it's counting down, and then he looks up as it keeps counting down, holds the phaser out, and you just see this kind of pensive, almost stoic look on Data's face, and you have him say, goodbye, Captain, or something, or goodbye, and then he fires it instead of the smug smirk, and then goodbye. You're just like, really? Come on.
You literally just said those 2 goodbyes exactly the same way.
Yeah, pretty much. You were no different than you said.
he has a choice of saying either goodbye or smirking and then saying goodbye. It's like, but that's the same, just with a smirk.
I actually said it differently, but fair enough.
You fail in emotional intonation.
I don't know. It just that scene did not sit well with me, and I'm not even a huge Picard fan, and I was like, oh no, that felt so wrong to me.
See, I do like Picard, but it didn't feel bad to me because it didn't feel like he was being shafted or anything like that due to the fact, like I said, he literally just did something awesome. And Star Trek's always been about the crew and stuff like that, and like everyone have their moments to shine. So it's like, yeah, he just had a great moment. Someone else do have a moment. That's sort of how they always do it.
Yeah, I mean, almost everybody got to have some level of badass moment in this movie. Picard got to have the last fight with Shinzon. Data got the final sacrifice. Riker got to have his fight with the Viceroy. Deanna got to have that badass moment where she had Worf fire the photons right into the cloak ship.
And Worf got to be, I don't know, embarrassed about being naked.
Pretty much. Yeah, that's about it.
See,
Worf always gets
yeah, he does. Geordi kind of got screwed too. He like didn't. He did some like repairs and
You know,
stuff.
Worf didn't need a badass moment. Worf was going to get to declare the new freaking Chancellor of the Klingon Empire back on DS9. He had shit to do. He was fine.
Yeah, but this is the last one of the Start Next Gen movies. Even though they may not have known this at the time or whatever bull crap people want to pull out and use as an excuse, it's still the last one of the Next Generation movies. And for most of the Next Generation movies and for the series and stuff, Worf gets beaten up so much that he kind of needs something badass to sort of balance it out from all of the smack the Worfs.
True. Yeah, he and Geordi kind of got shafted.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's like, I'm not saying...
And then to make it even worse, not only does Worf get beat up, but I'm pretty sure in this movie Picard intoned that Worf had a tiny penis.
Well, he asked him why was he being so embarrassed in a hilarious way, but I don't think it was to actually say you have a tiny penis.
About a big strapping man like you, Mr. Wall, I'm sure I have nothing to be embarrassed about.
Yes, but that doesn't mean he's... I think it was more of a case of he was just teasing Worf about the fact Worf was feeling embarrassed, not, haha, you have a small penis.
Fair enough.
But yeah, as I was saying, Geordi kind of got shafted too. He didn't do much. I mean, okay, he worked on before, but that was like, everything he did was like off screen. I'm like, come on. And then he's all like, the force fields on the core are up. First volley, shield goes down. I'm like, wow, you're useless, Geordi.
To be fair, he's working with new eyes right now.
Yeah, and a new ship.
Not necessarily. It's the same ship he's had for like 4 movies.
No, I'll say the D went down a generation, so they didn't get the E until at least First Contact.
They got it at First Contact. So
yeah, for most of that movie, it was under the control of the Borg, so he didn't get to do fuck all with it in that movie, because all the Borg were controlling 90% of the damn ship. And let's see, in the last movie, what was the last movie? Insurrection. Yeah, he technically had it there, but they were also on the planet. Geordi was mostly on the planet dealing with drunk Cochrane.
Drunk cockring.
I know, drunk Cochrane. But yeah, so Geordi really, and at least during the events of the movie, really hasn't had time to do a whole hell of a lot on the ship until now.
And new eyes.
And he's got new eyes, yeah. We don't know exactly how they're functioning.
Which he had, again, he's had since First Contact. So he's had the eyes as long as he's had the Enterprise.
Yeah, but if you're calling Insurrection, he had to lose the eyes because his actual eyes regrew because of the fucking radiation youth planet, and then he probably had to get them put back in.
It's also worth noting, the terrible movie that is called First Contact is only named that because that is the first contact lenses for Geordi. Thank you. Fact.
Boom.
Yeah, I wasn't saying that Data shouldn't have his moment. I was just saying I thought they should have done the moment differently. Like, have Picard, like, question why Data's in. He's like, no, Data, you leave, I gotta do this. And then Data turns like, no, I will do it. And Picard's like, what? Instead, Picard just stands there dumbfounded, and I'm like, okay, fair enough, you're in shock, but at the same time, it's like, do something. Say something.
Yes, but it's probably also because, to be fair, if they had spoke or done anything, then they really run the risk at the Wrath of Khan moment with the hands and stuff.
Yeah.
This one made it at least seem different. Similar concept, but it made it seem different, and it seemed like to Data's credit, he wanted to do this. He was happy. He was actually saving people, and he had a little smile because he's finally saving everyone. He's the hero.
Indeed. Although, can I make one point though in regards to people's memories of Data?
It'd be the first time.
Yeah, shut up. When they get to the end of the movie and they're all having a glass of Chateau Picard wine and they're remembering Mr. Data, am I the one who thinks Riker's a real dick for not being able to remember that when he first met Data, he was singing "Pop Goes the Fucking Weasel"? That's like one of the most basic songs in the world. Do 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 do. And Riker finishes it. Do 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 do. It's like that's a basic song. How do you not remember that being the song? It's not like he was humming a fucking opera. What the hell, Riker?
It's because that's how many years ago?
I know it's like 15 years ago at this point, but I'm just saying, if I was meeting an android for the first time and a song trying to whistle, I distinctly remember that song, especially an easy song like that to remember.
I wouldn't if I had to spend almost every day with him, and he's whistled in multiple times.
True.
But I do like "Pop Goes the Diesel."
Pop goes the diesel. Anyway.
Boom, that's a Thomas reference for today.
Nice. But yeah, I felt like it worked for what they needed to do with Data, and the idea was just that this had taken such an emotional toll on Picard, this fight with Shinzon, as Shinzon dying in front of him, that Picard was just drained, and basically had thought he was going to die and had basically resigned himself to this, and that's when Data came in out of nowhere, and just basically beamed Picard out of nowhere, and then beamed Picard out before he had a chance to do anything, which... By the way, that was what Jordan did in this movie. Jordan made the little transporter thing, but
that too. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and then Data had to Data got his badass "I'm gonna fry the Thalaron weapon and save everybody" moment, which was cool. I think it worked. Also, I will address one earlier comment. I won't go into details on the air, but I can go into details later if you'd like to. But one of you two made the point of they did this with Data because there was nowhere for his character to go.
That was me. I made the case of, to be fair, his character's almost pretty much done all the growing he needed to.
I will just mention to you, if you're going to read the novels, they brought Data back. He did a lot more growing, and it was awesome.
I would also make the case to you they're not canon, and I was talking about the fact that Data, from the point of the TV show to now, his character's been becoming really human. He ends saving people, which is really heroic. It ends his character arc.
Right,
Bringing him back and doing that later on would be like opening up Scrub's medical school and continuing their story right after it's finished for no unexplored reason. Thank you.
No, it's not that bad. I just think that with what they did, it made a lot of sense, and it really worked well to really drastically expand Data's character and make him almost he completely different from the Data we knew, and it was really well done. I thought what they did, and I liked it a lot. But maybe that's just me. But anyway, back to Nemesis.
Yeah, but I just meant the story in the Star Trek things that we watch in general. It felt like his story was complete. Yeah, you can bring him back, and then you can bring him back, and you can promote him, and you can do other crap with him.
No.
But it's not the same as I felt he'd already learned everything, because by the time this movie comes on, like during the film, he's getting humor, he's smirking, he's doing all this stuff. It's like he pretty much had evolved to the point he wanted to be at.
And like I said, I'm just saying that makes what they did more in the novels, and they did continue the story as it stood, and it made sense. So I'm not saying it can be done. I'm not saying that they didn't have a good ending in the movie as it stood from the perspective of the canon universe. I'm just making the point that they could have, there was a possibility of doing more and it being done well. And if you want to talk about things that are canon, technically they did, because B4 did turn back into Data and he became captain of the Enterprise in that the prequel novel to the movie we're going to review next month.
Yep,
which is considered canon.
I believe the prequel novel isn't considered canon.
Yes, it is. Paramount said it was canon.
Okay, because the writer of the film said all the tie-in books and games and stuff are not canon when he writes the film, and he will have stuff that's contradicting. But that's fine.
No, fair enough.
I was just about the story as it felt complete. I didn't feel it needed any more.
Which is fine, and I'm not saying necessarily did. I'm just saying that just because it didn't need it doesn't mean it could not have had good continuation. I'm not saying it needed it. I'm just saying it could have. That was my only point.
Yeah, but I'm saying if it doesn't need it, why do it? It's why I say like Joss Whedon was awesome before Disney ruined him with the Age of Ultron. Stuff like when he's realized in the stories, if you've done everything you need to do with a character, kill them and it becomes better. Kill them or write them off, and then get new characters to explore their arcs.
Yeah, I put to you, Jim. Take the books, put them out of your mind. Forget the books for a minute, and assume the books never existed. If you watch Nemesis and you see Data's arc, would you consider his arc complete at that point?
Yes, I said earlier that it was. I never said it wasn't. I was agreeing with it. I was only making the point that just because you have a complete arc doesn't mean a new arc cannot be started that continues where the old arc left off, and it can be done successfully. Whether it should be done is a whole other debate. I'm just saying it can be done, and that I personally thought that when it was done in that particular version of the universe, that it was done well. That was all I was saying. No need for a huge fight about it. I'm just making the point that it can be done, and I thought that version was done well. Doesn't mean it has to be. I agree the arc was complete and it was good for Data as it stood.
I know. There wasn't. I know, but the only reason there was as you put it, huge fight was because you then brought it up randomly in the review of, oh, who said that? By the way, you were wrong. They did it in books.
I didn't say you were wrong. I was just making the point that it could, in fact, be done. I didn't know if you just mentioned it earlier. I was just mentioning it.
I know. I was countering it. Jeez.
But yeah, I don't think B4 ever should have existed. I think if they were going to kill Data off, they should have just killed him off and been done with it.
Yep, the B4 thing was, it would be nice if that's where Next Gen definitely it was 100% was not going forward, because it's sort of that, it's a sweet ending of, oh look, there's still hope for Data, so it makes sense. But at the same time, it's also the thing of, now you're just rebooting him.
Well, the other thing too is, if you're trying to do the Wrath of Khan thing but make it different, actually kill the character off. That makes it different. But see, the thing is, I think it's clever, the use of B4 in terms of what Shinzon used them for. Because it's like, okay, that's kind of clever, that kind of makes sense, because, Data exists and you find this Sung type prototype, and Picard will, if you leave it for Picard, he'll find it, bring it on the ship, and you can use it as a sleeper agent. Fair enough, because Picard and Data will put them back together. Fair enough, that's kind of clever. I just don't like the fact that they used him as Dr. McCoy. I'm like, no, fuck off.
Yeah, that bit may have been but it was to do I felt it was to do the thing, like I mentioned, if this was the last hurrah of Next Gen, it's just a bittersweet ending. Like whenever they do the thing in stories, they're like, oh, a character's died, then you'll see a silhouette, or like, I don't know, Batman v Superman in the Dark Knight comics, when Clark's looking down at the grave and then does the X-ray and sees it's empty and just smirks, and you see Bruce has gone off. It's like, it doesn't hurt. It gives you a happy ending, while also giving you the tragic ending. So it sort of balances it out, if that makes sense. And I kind of like that. I don't like the fact they did that to Data, because I really did like Data. I just understand why, from a storytelling kind of standpoint.
Fair enough. I didn't like it, but fair enough. I can see your point.
Oh, like I said, I didn't like the fact they did it to Data. I don't like it. I just understand it completely. I just understood some people would like that, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But
go ahead.
But I think it should have been something that looked different to Data.
See, that I might have accepted more, because then it would have been like, okay, so you're leaving a way for Data to still exist, and Spiner doesn't have to play him. I was like, okay, fair enough, that I can accept. But making it a Spiner android, I'm like, and Spiner doesn't want to play him anymore. I'm like, well, then what's the fucking point? What is the fucking point of having another Data walking around? If the reason they kill him off is because Spiner didn't want to play him anymore, why put him in a Spiner android? There's no point to B4. His existence doesn't make sense.
It doesn't. Neither does a lot of stuff in these films.
Yep.
I
will say another thing I'm not sure if I liked or not was the interior of the scimitar, because I know you pointed out, I think it was the scimitar. You said that it was their base, but I think it was the scimitar, where you pointed out that it looked like something out of Babylon 5.
I didn't say it looked like something out of Babylon 5. I said the whole movie with its palettes and its darker tones and everything, even like the fucking like warthog from Halo on the moon and stuff. The whole look of the whole film, including the bad guy, felt very Babylon 5. Not just one interior.
Fair enough.
It's like some of the lighting tricks and stuff they did too are very Babylon.
That's a possibility. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I thought you were talking about like the interior of the ship specifically. I was like, yeah, I could. That does look kind of like Babylon 5. But yeah, the movie itself, I could see that with its, like you said, with its tones, its palettes and stuff. Don't know that I like that, but they were trying to go for something different, so fair enough. I also don't know if I like the fact that they fucked up Romulus. I'm like, wow.
I'm pretty sure they didn't fuck up Romulus as much as the next movie did.
True, but they still blew up, like, they destroyed half of Remus. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah, but who gives a shit about Remus? It's Remus.
Yeah, but it's like in the movie where you're introducing the Remans, and this just goes to show how fucking nuts Shinzon was, and it's like fucking Nero levels of stupidity here. Of have this entire plan to get to Picard, and it starts with me blowing up half of my homeworld. Well, half the planet of the people who created.
The planet where he was enslaved and forced to work in labor mines and abuse his entire life. Yeah, I'd blow it up too.
No, I'd open a little corner shop.
Ah.
No.
Yeah, but if that's the case, then why is he working with those people? I mean, yeah, okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Hellboy like fucking saved him, but still, it's still the people who fucking enslaved you. It's like, really?
Technically speaking, the Romulans are the ones that created him and abandoned him to the Remans, and they put him to work in the mines. But you have to realize the difference here, that as Shinzon sees it, he's not working with the Remans. The Remans work for him.
True.
That's the difference. It's not that they are allies, it's that they serve him. They are his soldiers, his men. They follow his orders. He is their commander. He does not need them to be allied to him. He just requires their fear and their loyalty.
Yep.
He also can't live without the Viceroy, so yeah, who serves whom?
Yeah, well, that's why he was going after Picard. He needed that anyway. And yeah, I would give you maybe he and the Viceroy are friends, fair enough. But the rest of them, it's just a matter of convenience that they serve him.
I would also make the case of, with the Viceroys, he was looking to betray him.
Yeah, that too.
Because what's going to happen the second he becomes the perfect clone? And no longer has limitations. I'm guessing they're going to be fucked up, the people who have been like, yeah, we're the only ones keeping you alive. Pretty sure they're going to die.
There's a good chance of this.
True.
But his look is fucking horrible.
Also, I have to say, what the fuck to the Romulans? They're fucking idiots. They know the kind of ship that Shinzon flies.
Yes.
And yet you think to send out Mogais and not Deterodexes? Come on. And you wonder why the Mogais got fucked the hell up? You know the ship he flies. She's been on the fucking ship. It's like, okay, your ship might be a Mogai, but you might want to go to the surviving Senate members and be like, hey, can I get an actual battle cruiser here going up against a dreadnought?
I can explain that.
Okay.
He had an inside man. My evidence of this is that woman I pointed out to you of the Romulans, who her top half of her face is just clearly makeup. She's clearly a spy in disguise that's been forced there because she looks so different to the other ones that logically she's working for him, and that's why all of these stuff happens. Inside man.
I believe she was the one commanding the Mogai of which I speak.
Yeah, so no one would believe it was her. Just like when Shawn Michaels was thrown into a car window, Triple H was the first one to run over and make sure he got help.
But that makes it that makes it even less sense, because if she's turning on, again, that's my point. She was on Shinzon's ship. If she's turning on Shinzon, you would think she would want something bigger and beefier. Not a little piece of crap that's going to get shredded by the scimitar.
Yes, she's his inside man. Therefore, she's willing to go up there and just die for him.
No, I don't believe that was the case. I think Dinatra legitimately realized that Shinzon was insane. And because Shinzon told her, if you want to win my loyalty, kill this other senator dude if he acts suspicious. I think Dinatra realized at that point that Shinzon was basically insane, or at the very least he trusted nobody, and he was probably going to get the Empire destroyed, which is why she went to the senator guy, and they agreed to turn on him.
Oh, I will say, Jim, just so you know, I have no doubt that what I was saying was completely bullshit.
No, I know you do. I'm just making my own point.
Good. I was just saying, because I pointed out to Marcus when we watched it. Her makeup was fucking atrocious.
In which scene?
Was it the council scene, Jeff?
Yeah, the Senate scene at the very first.
When she's in that one, for most of that scene, everyone's makeup seems to blend in perfectly. Hers doesn't. Her top half clearly looks like makeup. Badly done makeup.
Which is fair enough, but I make the point to you, and it's not all that clearly pointed out in this particular film, but I because I know Trek lore, I know this. In the opening scene in the Senate chamber, where there's the female senator who places the Thalaron device and then excuses herself to go to a meeting with the Tholian ambassador.
That's who we're talking about. That's her.
No, it's not. That's not the same person. Because as she walks out and the device starts going off, that's when the existing Praetor realizes what's going on, and he goes, "Quick! Someone find Senator Talora! Bring her back here!"
Oh, that's right. It's Talora.
That's right. Senator Talora, the other woman who turned on Shinzon and agreed to, basically portray because she realized he was crazy, was Dinatra. Two different Romulan women.
Yeah, the Romulan woman I was on about with my theory was the one inside the council chamber.
Fair enough.
But that was just because...
Talora probably had terrible makeup, and Talora was definitely loyal to Shinzon.
Yeah, like I said, because that was horrible makeup. To the point that I make the case of she's not a Romulan. She must have been she must have just been a spy, and clearly they're all fools because she's just wearing bad prosthetics, and they're like, "No, we'll buy this." It'd be like if I just glue a horn to my head and go and stand in the middle of the African safari. The rhino's gonna say, "Oh, look, he's one of us."
Nah.
He has a horn. He must be. That's not how this works. And also, what she was doing was a little bit racist, because I believe in Star Trek that's what's known as Romulan face.
Pretty much.
That's pretty offensive.
Yeah, whatever happened to Talora? She just kind of disappeared after that scene.
I thought Mark was going to say, what did happen to racism? I was going to say.
Okay, then. I don't know. I thought that was unusual that Talora kind of disappeared. I wasn't really sure exactly how that went down, but I believe the idea there was that she performed that, but then because she was obviously guilty of murdering the entire Senate, until Shinzon was able to consolidate power, and even afterward when people weren't totally with him, she probably had to go into hiding unless she'd be arrested or murdered herself.
Probably.
She was before.
Yeah.
In badly done makeup. Fact.
Oh no, she actually did appear later. After Shinzon's rise to power, she wondered aloud about the visible deterioration he was in. She was the one who said that he was looking worse.
Oh, that's right. Oh, she's the one that said, "What's wrong with your face?"
I think that was her. Yeah.
And that's when Patrick Stewart's character was like, "Cheeky bitch."
Pretty much.
And she's like, "Whoa, you've let yourself go." But no, this film. It's not the best. It's not the best, but it's certainly not as terrible as I remember it. But it is one of the weakest Star Trek films.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's bad. It's really bad. But it's not. Yeah, it's not as bad as I remember it being. There's some good things in there and some not so good things and data.
Yeah, but I believe one of the reasons this was so bad when we watched it is because you were anticipating this big Star Trek film. when we go into it anticipating complete horseshit and we actually find stuff we like, it's going to be more of a surprise.
That's true too.
I mean, it's like I've said, if you go back and watch Spider-Man 3, for example, not that terrible. It's not as terrible as I remember it.
Fair enough.
But that's mainly because you remember it as being fucking so terrible. When you do go back and watch it, you're like, oh, not that bad.
Fair enough. So yeah, let's go into our final opinions of the movie, and let's kick over to Jim.
Okay. I said personally, I upon watching this, I realized I don't think I'd actually sat down and watched this entire movie all the way through before. If I did, I didn't really remember it. Because a few scenes jumped out at me. I remembered the scene where Shinzon first appears and he raises the lights and that dramatic thing. And I remembered that scene. I remembered the wedding scene, like those two opening scenes. And I remembered the scene, the day the sacrifice scene. I remembered having seen that. But a lot of the other stuff I didn't totally remember, so I don't think I saw a lot of this. If I didn't see it before, I might not have seen the whole thing. But overall, watching it, not as bad as I generally remember the parts I saw being, particularly the Shinzon portion. It was not quite as bad. I could see the idea they were going for, what they were going for with this. I understand that, and it makes sense to me why they, why it was, the way it was. I understand they had good ideas. It was like you said earlier, Marcus. It was just an execution. It really didn't work, and I feel like that was really what hindered this. But Data's sacrifice worked out well. Spiner wrote that in well, I think, and I think the acting was generally good across the board. It was just a matter of the plot and the execution of some of the ideas just wasn't quite there. And the movie. If I had to rate this movie, I would probably give this movie. I'm going to be generous and say a 7. I'm going to say a 7 because I feel like there are worse movies, but I feel like this one, as a movie, I feel like it could have been a lot worse. There were a lot of good aspects of the movie. The bad did outweigh the good, but there were a lot of good aspects, and I don't want to completely throw that out. It was just mostly an execution of the ideas, and it didn't totally work. So I give it some credit for that. Maybe I don't know, maybe a 6.5, maybe. I mean, 6.5, 7, somewhere in that area.
Fair enough. Over to Mo.
Like I mentioned, it's not as bad as I remembered it. And rewatching it, like I was saying as well, like I was saying during this, I personally didn't like the concepts. I didn't really like the story. I didn't really care for much of it. I'll admit it's not, and I know this is controversial or whatever, and when Marcus gives his, he'll undo this one, but it's not as bad as First Contact. It flows better as a cohesive movie. And there's more stuff I can at least point at as being good. Like, oh, I like those uniforms. Oh, I like the look of this. Oh, I like those. Oh, cool, warthogs from Halo. But overall, it's just, no, I'd still give this an avoid. Complete shit.
Understandable.
Absolutely. Yeah, this movie just, no. It's bad. It's not, I wouldn't say it's the worst Star Trek movie I've seen, but probably the second worst. And yeah, fair enough. You didn't like First Contact, and that's fair enough. You're entitled to that. I happen to like it, and it's my favorite Star Trek movie. Fair enough. But yeah, not as bad as I remember it. Nemesis. Not good. Like I said, the concept. I kind of dug the concept. I thought the execution was terrible. I didn't like what they did with Data. I didn't like how they executed the Picard shock at the end, if that's what they were going for. I thought it kind of overshadowed Picard and gave Data the badass hero moment. I'm like, I feel it should have been more. I feel it should have been less of a badass and more of an emotional hero moment. And I think that would have made more sense for Data, but maybe that's just me.
I put it to you, a smirk is a sign of emotion.
Yeah, but you know what I meant by emotional. But and then, like you said, there were some good points to it. The uniforms looked good. The ship looked good. I loved the scimitar. That was awesome. I loved the design of that. You know, um, but just on the whole, it, like you said, it didn't. I don't know. You thought this one flowed better. I didn't think this movie flowed that well. I didn't like what they were doing with the Romulans. I liked the fact they decided to use Romulans. I thought that was cool. And that kind of had me hyped up for the movie when it first came out because I was like, ooh, they're going back to the Romulans. This could be awesome. And then I got this.
Oh, what I meant by it flowed better as a cohesive movie was it kept the same tone pretty much throughout, so it felt like one movie. Not like my complaint with the other one of happy seeing happy, dramatic, happy, dramatic, happy, dramatic, like it was bipolar.
Fair enough. I can understand that. I can agree with that.
It's fair enough.
I just thought in terms of storytelling, I didn't like this one in terms of storytelling. I thought it was kind of all over the place.
Oh, the story's shit.
Yeah. Fair enough. But
I just meant as a film it flowed better.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough. I could see that. Fair enough. But yeah, I'll have to agree with Mole on this. Firm avoid with this movie. People say this movie is shit. They're not wrong. So yeah, don't do yourself a favor. Don't watch this movie. Just go straight to Star Trek 2009. Cleanse the palate, and you'll be fine. So yes, that was our look at Star Trek Nemesis. And I would like to thank James Phoenix and Chriz the Mole for joining me.
You're welcome.
You can't see, but I'm smirking dramatically at you.
See, what was better was the cut alternate version of that scene where the cut version of that scene where Data went, "Shin's on, your shin gone." Then he put on sunglasses and it went, "Yeah."
I think that would have improved the scene, actually. But yeah, so join us next month of my birth. Join us for Star Trek 2009 reboot, sort of.
Oh, don't bury November. Like,
Fuck you.
Yeah, come on. I mean, there's a lot more important things that happened in November in the intervening several hundred years since you were born. Come on.
Yeah, like before, after you were born, we also had Guy Fawkes.
Okay then.
There you go.
That's even funnier if he knows when that was. But yeah.
But yeah, join us next month for Star Trek 2009, directed by J.J. Abrams. Yep, good movie.
Hoping I'm there, but if not, you can check out some of my thoughts in the last video.
Absolutely. Yeah. Hopefully you'll be there.
Hopefully.
I was your host, Marcus Shadow. Good night from the Shadows Mall.